Hi.
Hey,
So we said that we wanted to do some verbal acupuncture on whatever was currently alive for you and that we were going to record it. So thank you for being part of that. I appreciate it.
yeah, you're welcome.
Other people's processes are always helpful for somebody. So this is good stuff. So what's alive for you now? What do we want to work on?
At the time that I called, um, I was going through this thing in my mind where I was um, basically having a hard time letting go of this story I have about someone that I'm in like an energetic work exchange with, and feeling uh, a lot of anxiety about the way that I'm showing up and the way that I'm communicating boundaries and um, basically, yeah, have like a lot of story coming up around, what this person did or didn't do, or what I did or didn't do, what that means in this situation, and yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I
Is
don't know how
there
detailed you want me to go into it right now.
well, uh so there's a pattern that you're in that you want to shift. Um, so that you have more freedom around it. Is that what you're looking for? Is to not have what exactly is?
Well, the story feels exhausting, and
Ah,
like it's been a story with other people too. And so it's just something I want to explore the nature of and let it go if it doesn't seem to be um, actually like serving me or helpful, or I don't know,
yeah. Okay.
uh, feeling in alignment, you know, whatever I'm receiving there. I want that to feel in alignment energetically.
In alignment with authenticity, in alignment with truth, in alignment with ease, in alignment with.
Um, Authenticity.
Okay. So are we wanting to do some verbal acupuncture to kind of poke at whatever is keeping you from just standing gently in your authenticity?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you imagine yourself in that situation, just standing gently in authenticity, um, w- what do you feel comes up? Like, what do you feel blocks that?
Frustrations with expectations, frustrations around like, yeah, expectations and boundaries.
Okay. Um, do expectations and boundaries feel authentic to you? Are those things that you authentically interface with? And if that doesn't make sense, I can ask it in another way.
Will you ask it in another way?
Yeah. So the expectations that you have, do they feel like they are in alignment with self-care, or do they feel like they are more in alignment with an old story that was keeping you safe in old circumstances?
old, well, yeah, old circumstances.
Okay. And then do the boundaries feel like they're like an authentic self-care, or are they part of the same old circumstances mechanism? In other words, are the boundaries to keep you more able to stand in your authenticity, or are they a protective measure for past circumstances that you're trying to enforce in the present?
I guess that has been a process. Like maybe the more so these days, um, they're authentic.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when you were saying that you're having frustrations with expectations, is that you have an expectations that aren't of what other people are supposed to do that aren't being met? Is that what's the breakdown?
Basically, yeah, of the way that other people are supposed to conduct themselves when interacting with me, and based on, I guess, just either expectations or desires for things to like flow a certain way for me.
Okay. Um, the desire to have things flow a certain way for you feels like it's a present thing. That feels like it's separate and distinct from the old story that you were talking about. So is it that you have different layers of things kind of collapsed on each other? Can you like feel the difference between having expectations and having and wanting things to go a particular way? Are those also expectations, or is there a nuance there? Are they separate?
There's a nuance,
Okay,
but I don't know what it is
that's fine. Do you feel like you could drop those expectations and be able to stand in your authenticity, or is there some reason you're holding on to them?
because the reason that I hold on to them is because I believe that I need to show up a certain way, and like he's not playing his part.
All right. So is the story kind of like if I show up in a particular way, then other people are obligated to also show up? Is that kind of how it goes? How does that story go?
um, how does that story go?
I can ask that in a different way. Um, if you think back to how you were trained to interface with people, that there's some sort of etiquette that people are supposed to follow, like if I call you and leave you a message, then you're supposed to call me back, or if we're doing a thing that we split the labor and I do my half, therefore you do your half, that kind of thing. Are these the
Yeah,
kind of expectations we're talking about? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So you have old patterning that somebody taught you that this is the way that people are supposed to be, and you're holding them to account to this way. Is that kind of what's going on? Okay. And intellectually that not everybody got the same training as you, right? Like
Yeah,
intellectually that you you can't hold someone to account for things that somebody taught you other people should do because they don't know these things, right?
Right.
Even if it seems common, even if it seems like common decency, if even if it seems like common courtesy, you can't actually expect other people to do those things unless you've had a conversation about that that's what you need them to do. Yeah. So have you had
Mhm.
those conversations of this is what I'm putting into it and this is what I expect back if I'm putting this into it? Have you had those conversations explicitly?
Um, we have we've talked about it.
Okay.
We
And did you
haven't.
come to an understanding? Or was it more like
To some degree.
you said that you wanted it to go XYZ and the other person said, I hear that that's what you want?
It was
Or
more like that.
okay.
It
Yeah.
was more like that, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that sounds frustrating.
It is, it is.
Yeah. It's
Um,
it sounds like it would be.
and it's come up between us many times in the past as something that just causes friction between us. And uh, my thing is I have like a certain level of integrity that I want to do any work that I do with that integrity.
Mhm.
And I feel like for self-care reasons, when I'm working in this particular dynamic, that I have to sacrifice that to s- stay feeling well in the dynamic. I have to sacrifice my integrity, and that's a conflict for me.
Yeah. It sounds like it
Yeah,
would be.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, and I believe that you've probably looked at the situation every way that you could, and that if you could have solved it some other way, you would have, rather than compromising your integrity. Because I know how much your integrity means to you. So, uh, does it feel like I know we're skirting around this for privacy issues also. Um, what would happen if you stood fully in your integrity? What would happen if you stood up fully into your authentic being, into your most wizardry integrity? You just what would happen if you stood up into that in this situation? What do you predict would happen? Or have you tried it and do you know what would happen?
Um, I might change or exit the dynamic. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I imagine would happen too. And that doesn't work for you to do right now, right?
Not at this moment time.
So, there's times that I work with people that are in kind of like not really abusive relationships, but are in kind of abusive relationships where like who they are just really isn't okay with the other person, but they just kind of can't get out of it. And then, so what we talk about then is managing expectations. And we talk about reframing the experience so that we're reframing it as a choice rather than all of the story about can't and need to and all of that, right? Like it's possible to stay in a situation that's not really working for you because you're getting some of your needs met from it, you know? The dynamic that you're in, you're getting some of your needs met from it, right? Even though it's kind of frustrating, even though
Hmm.
it's maybe costing you more than it's really worth, but you're temporarily getting some of your needs met from it. Um, I don't know how helpful I can be here. Because really all that's left is just managing expectations. You know, if you know somebody's going to be not standing in their integrity, then don't expect them to. You know, if you know somebody's going to not do what they said they were going to do, or they're going to compromise, the quality of whatever or whatever is going on, right? Then the only thing you can really do is just manage your expectations and have none.
Mm.
And then if you get your needs met, you get your needs met. And if you don't, you leave. I mean, that would be the only way to interrupt the pattern, because you have to control what you can control, and what you can control is your expectations.
Yeah,
How does that sit? How does that feel?
it feels right.
Does it feel easier? Can you stand up in your authenticity if you don't have expectations of, this dynamic being any different than it ever has been?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like I can.
there you go. How's that feel? You have a smile on your face.
Do I?
Yeah, you do.
Mm.
I feel like giving this silly example. I mean, a duck can dress up like a rabbit, and it can walk around like a rabbit, and it can act like a rabbit, but it's not a rabbit. So you're not going to expect it to have like live babies. You're not going to expect it to mate with other rabbits. You're not going to expect it to do things that are a rabbit, even if it's pretending that it can be, right? I feel like that's the same thing with other people. They can show up a particular way and give us an indication that they might be a certain way, but we know they're not. And we know that that's not going to be a thing. And if you treat this person kind of like that, or whatever the situation is, does that feel helpful? Yeah.
Mhm.
You feel lighter?
Yeah.
Cool. Is there anything else still alive for you around that? Because then boundaries are just about self care. You know, if somebody's being kind of abusive, you don't let them get close enough to you to actually abuse you.
Right. What was the question?
Doesn't matter. I see.
Okay.
I see you're integrating, which is fine.
Yeah.
That's where you want to be. Well, are you feeling complete? Is there more to talk about?
Oh, right. I don't, I guess not.
Well,
Nope.
then I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.